Hey guys, my name is Miska and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today we're going to be talking about perceived meta, how the community have a tendency of sometimes making up things around the game that aren't necessarily true. People talk so much about a certain topic that it almost becomes reality, at least for a little while. And it is this little while we want to talk about here. It's a phenomenon that we've seen many times in Overwatch around several heroes, and I wanted to show you this in actual graphs from Overbuff, thanks to Overbuff for sort of providing those. This is available to anyone, and this video is not sponsored by Overbuff at all, but I wanted to give them a proper shout out for this since we actually used this in this video. Basically, if you go to Overbuff and you check heroes, you can see all the heroes' current pick rate, and you can sort it by the last few months or the last week or this month, and also by the different ranks. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the pick rate charts for individual characters over time. I want to give you guys some examples of things that have changed in pick rate and hero popularity that aren't based around if the changes of the heroes are good or bad, but around how they are perceived by the community. The most clear case, in my opinion, or at least from what I've found so far, is around Ana. After BlizzCon 2017, Moira was added to the game, right? In that patch as well, we also had an Ana buff and a Mercy nerf. We'll get to the Mercy nerf in a bit, but the Ana buff was very interesting. Her damage on her gun, so not her healing, went from 60 to 80. This allowed Ana to be a little bit more aggressive, and all of a sudden she could 3-shot 200 HP heroes rather than 4-shot them. This was pretty huge in a lot of players' eyes, and a lot of people were hoping for Ana to be able to contest that support spot a little bit more, as she dropped off a lot when Mercy Valkyrie was introduced. So the change was added around the 17th, I believe, of November, around that time, and indeed Ana's pick rate skyrocketed. She went from a 3.62% pick rate all the way up to 7.94%. That is higher than Moira currently, who currently is the third most picked hero in the game. So Ana would be the third most picked hero in the game if that happened right now, which is pretty ridiculous to think about. And this kept on for about a week or so, which is honestly a decent amount of time for just being a sort of perceived buff to the hero. Well, obviously it was a buff, but it's not as much of a buff as the community thought at the time. As you can see, her pick rate definitely dropped off a lot after that. And by a lot, I mean that it is now back to 3.43%, but after a week it dropped down to 4.89% from that high nearly 8% pick rate. Pretty crazy stuff. If you look at the graph here, you can just see the massive spike and then the dip. And this is just because of community thoughts around the change. Alright, let's move on to the next hero, Mercy. Mercy was buffed on September 19th. This was when Valkyrie was added, and at the time people weren't actually sure if it was going to be a huge buff to the hero or not. I think most people at the time, initially at least, said that this wasn't necessarily a buff or a nerf, it was just a change that was probably going to help her out a bit. There was a lot of mixed feelings about it, but point was that the change went through on the 19th of September. It took a few days for people to really pick up on it, but people did. And Mercy hit a pick rate of about 17% after a while, which is pretty nuts. On the 17th of October as well, she was actually kind of buffed. It wasn't really meant to be a buff, I don't think. It was meant to be more of a change. There were some changes around Guardian Angel, of course, but the main one was Valkyrie, which was the whole no longer resetting or reducing the resurrection cooldown. So basically, if your rest was on cooldown and you would ult, then it would come off cooldown and all that. And Blizzard changed this a little bit back and forth on the PTR, but it did give players a bonus resurrection charge now, which was when the sort of current form of Valkyrie was first introduced. It was after this that Mercy pick rate really went crazy, almost reached 18% at one point, but like I said, in that patch around BlizzCon, she was nerfed. It was on November 16th actually that the Mercy change was introduced to the live patch. This was when the slow rest was introduced, with the nearly 2-second cast time, and Mercy being very slow when resting as well, of course. She could be interrupted, stunned, hooked, hacked, all that sort of stuff, even knocked out of the rest range. But Valkyrie as well was changed in this. So Resurrect no longer had a cast time, so it was instant rests in Valkyrie, and casting Resurrect does not reduce Mercy's movement speed. This was the first time that Mercy quote-unquote died. This was a pretty big deal. A lot of people thought that this slow rest would be it. Mercy would now be so easy to just kill when resting. And sure, whilst pressing E wasn't just as straightforward as it used to be as Mercy, Valkyrie still proved to be a ridiculously effective tool. Mercy actually dropped off in pick rate twice around this time, and this was because of two things. Further Mercy nerfs being expected and Moira being added to the game made the support roles go a bit haywire for that few weeks around that time in November. It started stabilizing, and the heroes that were not gonna stick into the meta and not do very well started dropping off more and more over time, and Mercy started going up and up and up yet again. You can see this ridiculous dip here around the time where Mercy was nerfed, and then another little dip again here around the time of where supports were a bit unstable almost, and then just Mercy going up and up and up and up until around the start of this year where the Mercy nerfs were added and introduced on the PTR, sort of revealed there, and that made a lot of people not play as much Mercy at the time. And you can see how there are even small dips currently. But the thing is that this is pretty ridiculous. A lot of this change in pick rate has to do with the community's thoughts, and it's very interesting to see this massive Mercy dip when she was first nerfed, because that nerfed Mercy is essentially the Mercy that we know now. It's pretty much the same hero, but you're still looking at a difference in pick rate from the big dip, which was 11.78%, and the peak just before the Mercy nerf on the PTR was revealed just a few weeks ago, which was 15.97%. Crazy numbers, and this is just one of those examples of the community expecting a hero to be played or at least perform in a certain way. Right, with all that Mercy talk out of the way that I'm sure all of us are pretty sick of right now, I just want to mention a few final examples of hero popularity increasing or decreasing, the different type of behavior we've seen in the community through these stats, but also go on to what I think will happen with Mercy after these changes. First off, we saw the same type of behavior in the community through these stats when Roadhog's Take a Breather and Walk Around at the Same Time version was introduced. Roadhog was doing really badly in terms of pick rate. It was kind of a meme that Roadhog was just nerfed in every patch. He was very much down at the bottom of the barrel, but this change was introduced and a lot of people thought that this is just not the right change. A lot of people made videos on YouTube like us, and there was loads of discussion on Reddit and Twitter about how this was just not the right Roadhog change at all. It was just not gonna help him. It didn't help him fulfill a role in the team, it just helped him stay alive. But oh, how wrong we were as a community, honestly. This ended up changing Roadhog a lot, and now his pick rate is back up. He's doing very well as a hero, and that change just really did it for him. All of a sudden he's this amazing flanker and self-sustaining hero that in my opinion is one of the best solo queue heroes around, just extremely good at everything he does. So the community were very much wrong there. Right, with that extra example out of the way, I wanted to finally address how is Mercy gonna do after this change. In my opinion, the graph will look something like this. There will be a huge drop off in Mercy pick rate to begin with, of course. Nobody's gonna be sort of surprised about that. It's bound to happen. Mercy's gonna go right down to the bottom. She's just not gonna be played a lot. But what I think people will realize is that there are certain aspects of the Mercy gameplay and how the hero is sort of perceived in a game and the impact of the hero in a game that is actually unchanged. I'm not saying that Mercy's gonna be super viable or anything like that, but consider things like you initiating a team fight with the enemy team, you almost kill the enemy Mercy, which is a pretty good pick, you know, getting picks on the supports early in a fight is very good. But she presses Q, flies straight up into the air, and then heals her entire team, which gives you a much harder time in that team fight. And this is still gonna be for those 15 seconds, which is longer than Lucio beat, for example. And that aspect of Mercy is entirely unchanged. Of course, the resurrection has been changed a lot. And yes, that will impact her pick rate a lot too, and her win rate too, and just the overall performance of the character. But I think because of that, the pick rate will just slowly start rising a little bit again. No idea how she'll match up against the other supports. I think we're gonna have quite a shift around in meta when this patch goes through. But either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Let me know what you think will happen with Mercy around the time of these nerfs going through. Will she still be able to contest spots with other supports? There's no doubt that she's gonna be a lot worse than she currently is. But how do you think she'll compare to the other heroes in her category? Let me know in the comments below and like the video if you enjoyed it. You can check it out yourself at overbuff.com/heroes. I'll link it in the description. And you can just click through from the heroes there, check their pick rate charts and all that good stuff. It's really good. But yeah, that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Do subscribe for more Overwatch content as per usual. And until next time, take care and we'll see you then.